What happens when a calm morning on live TV suddenly turns into the kind of moment no one sees coming? Make sure to subscribe to Fame After Hours, and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The studio looked completely normal at first, audience cheering, Whoopi giving her usual warm smile, Sunny adjusting her notes, but the energy changed the moment Tom Holland walked out. The audience clapped louder than usual, some people even stood up. Joy nodded with her classic half-smirk, pretending to be unfazed, but you could tell she wasn't expecting that kind of reaction. Tom greeted everyone with a quick wave and sat down, looking calm, maybe even a little nervous, like he sensed something brewing. Whoopi leaned forward. "Tom, good to have you here, honey. Big week for you." He smiled. "Yeah, it's been eventful." Sunny laughed. "Eventful is an understatement." Everything seemed fine until Joy jumped in quicker than usual. "Well, before we get into all that, let's talk about what everyone's been discussing online about your recent interview." Tom blinked, a little thrown. Sure, but I thought we were starting with—" No, we'll get there," Joy said, cutting him off again. "But first, let's address the little comment you made about comedians being out of touch. People took that personally." The audience let out a soft, "Oh." Whoopi raised her eyebrows at the tension already forming. Tom shifted in his seat. "Well, that comment wasn't aimed at all comedians. It was meant in a broader sense." Joy didn't let him finish. "But you said it, so obviously people will react." Whoopi looked at her sharply. "Joy, let him talk." Joy lifted her hands in a fake innocent pose. "I'm just clarifying." At this point, Tom's polite smile got tighter. "I'm happy to clarify. But I think context matters, and the clip that went viral removed all of it." The audience murmured. Sunny nodded. "That happens a lot. People see 5 seconds and form an entire conclusion." Joy shrugged. "Well, sometimes 5 seconds is enough." The audience reacted again, louder this time. Some laughed, some gasped. You could feel the air thicken a bit. Tom glanced at Joy, then back at Whoopi, like he wasn't sure whether to lean in or back away. Whoopi sighed. Okay, let's keep this reasonable. We're not here to twist anyone's words." Joy folded her arms. "I'm not twisting anything." Tom finally responded, a little firmer. "I know how social media works. But if we're going to talk about the comment, then let's talk about it fairly. I didn't single out any comedian. I didn't mention anyone from this table either." A few audience members clapped at that. Joy narrowed her eyes, not aggressively, but the kind of subtle annoyance she usually hides better. Sunny leaned toward Tom. "You think the reaction got exaggerated?" "Oh, definitely," Tom said. "And honestly, I'm not sure why it blew up the way it did. Unless someone wanted it to." The moment he said that, the whole studio reacted. You could hear a mix of laughs, gasps, and murmurs. Whoopi immediately looked toward Joy, then back at Tom. Joy tapped the table. "Are you implying something? Because if you're talking about this show, we didn't send anything viral." Tom shook his head quickly. "I'm not saying that. I'm saying someone clipped it out of context, and it spread. That's all." Whoopi raised her hand to slow things down. "Let's not jump to conclusions." But Joy wasn't letting go. "Well, you know how it works. If someone says something questionable, people will talk. That's not anyone else's fault." The audience reacted again, some agreeing, some clearly uncomfortable. Tom exhaled and leaned back in his chair as if trying to stay calm. "Right," he said. "But calling something questionable doesn't make it questionable." A quiet "damn" came from somewhere in the crowd, and people laughed nervously. Sunny tried smoothing the atmosphere. "Look, Tom, what were you actually trying to say in that interview? Since you're here, say it directly." He nodded. "What I meant was simple. Sometimes public figures, actors, comedians, whoever, can lose touch with how normal people think." "I wasn't attacking anyone. I was speaking broadly." Joy leaned in with a smile that wasn't really a smile. Well, good thing we're not normal people. The audience burst into mixed reactions again. Some laughed, some groaned, some whispered things. Tom looked directly at her, this time more openly frustrated. That's exactly the kind of reaction I meant, he said quietly, measured. That need to twist a general observation into something personal. That was the moment the temperature of the entire room seemed to rise. Even Whoopi blinked like she was surprised he went there. The tension wasn't explosive yet, but it was starting to simmer. You could tell this wasn't just a normal conversation now. Something deeper was forming, and everyone felt it. The studio atmosphere shifted the moment Tom finished speaking. It wasn't hostile, but it wasn't comfortable either. There was this uneasy quiet that happens on live television, where everyone knows something sharp has been said, and now they're waiting to see who reacts first. Whoopi cleared her throat like she was about to step in, but before she could, Joy Behar leaned forward again. So let me get this straight, Joy said, her tone slightly sarcastic. You're saying that my reaction, right now, is exactly the type of thing you were talking about. Tom adjusted his mic. I'm saying that sometimes comments get taken personally when they're not personal. That's all. The audience murmured. A woman in the second row shook her head, whispering something to her friend. Another person muttered, "Here we go," loud enough for the mics to catch the tail end. Sunny glanced at the crowd, noticing the tension building in little pockets around the room. Whoopi finally stepped back in. Okay, everybody breathe. Let's not do the whole defensive-offensive thing right now. We're just talking. But Joy wasn't softened. I'm not defensive. I'm responding. Tom smiled lightly, almost painfully. And I'm responding to your response. That made some in the audience laugh awkwardly. You could feel the back and forth taking a rhythm of its own, like both sides were trying to stay polite but failing. Sunny turned to Tom. Let's clear this up because the internet loves turning half a sentence into a war. When you said people become out of touch, what did you mean, in your own words? Tom leaned forward. I meant that when you work in this industry long enough, you can lose connection with everyday life. Things normal people worry about, things they struggle with. Sometimes entertainers don't see it anymore. It wasn't an attack. It was an observation. Joy raised a brow. But doesn't that include you too? You're in the same industry. Tom nodded. Of course it includes me. I didn't exclude myself. That's what I meant by speaking broadly. The audience "oat" again, but this time it wasn't sharp. It was more like they realized he had a point. Even Sunny nodded like the statement made sense. But Joy didn't back down. Then why did everyone assume you were talking about comedians? Tom took a small breath. Maybe because the clip was edited to look like that. A few audience members gasped. Whoopi looked toward Joy very slowly, like she was reading her reaction carefully. Joy pressed her lips together. Well, that's not on us. We don't edit other people's interviews. Tom held his hands up. I didn't say you did. The tension dipped for a second, then it came right back when Sunny jumped in with a question that clearly pushed the conversation forward. Tom, did you expect comedians to react the way they did online? Because a few of them seemed pretty upset. Tom nodded thoughtfully. I saw the reactions. And I get it. People feel protective of their craft. But I just think it would have helped if they saw the whole interview instead of a tiny clipped part. Sunny leaned back. That's fair. Then Joy suddenly asked, do you think comedians are too sensitive? The question felt loaded. Even Whoopi paused before reacting. Tom looked at Joy like he was trying to decide if this was a trap. That's not what I said, Tom replied slowly. But is it what you think? Joy pushed again. The audience reacted loudly this time. Half gasps, half laughs, half whoa. It was messy, real, and exactly the kind of unscripted chaos that makes live TV unpredictable. Whoopi jumped in fast. Joy, this ain't an interrogation. Joy shrugged. I'm asking a question the audience wants to know. A man in the front row called out, let him breathe. People laughed, and even Tom cracked a small smile. Sunny turned to Joy. But the way you asked. I asked a question, Joy said, firm. He can answer or not. Tom took another breath. He didn't look angry, but his patience was thinning. I think anyone can be sensitive. Actors, comedians, hosts, everyone. We're all human. Joy's stare softened a little, not much, but enough to show she heard his answer. All right, Whoopi finally said. Let's ground this for a second because we're starting to wander. The audience laughed again, relieved at the comedic timing. The tension loosened, but only slightly. Whoopi turned to Tom. Look, honey, you've been in the spotlight since you were young. You know how things get blown up. What's bothering you the most about how this whole situation went down? Tom hesitated. This time you could actually see him weighing his answer. Honestly? It feels like people wanted drama that wasn't actually there. Joy tilted her head, clearly wanting to respond, but for once, she didn't interrupt. She waited. Tom continued. I expected criticism. That's normal. But the way it got twisted into something personal, that surprised me. Sunny nodded in agreement. That's fair. The audience hummed, some whispering again, some nodding, some clearly invested in whatever was coming next. The moment felt like a hinge, like something bigger was about to break open, but no one knew who would push it first. And slowly, the scene settled into a tense quiet again, like the calm before the next wave. The quiet in the studio didn't feel normal anymore. It felt like one of those moments when everyone, audience, hosts, even the guest, knows the conversation is about to take a turn, but no one knows which direction it will go. Sunny shifted in her seat, Joy adjusted her glasses, and Whoopi Goldberg leaned back with an expression that silently said, "Here we go." Tom clasped his hands together on the table, trying to keep a steady posture, but you could tell the back and forth with Joy had worn him down a bit. Still, he looked ready to continue. Maybe even ready to defend himself more directly. Whoopi spoke first. Okay, Tom, since you're here live, and we love when people show up live, you get to tell your side clearly. No editing. No clips. Say what needs saying. The audience clapped softly, almost encouraging him. Tom nodded. I appreciate that, he said. Because what bothered me wasn't the criticism itself. It was how fast people jumped to conclusions based on something that wasn't the full picture. Joy folded her arms again. But Tom, people react to what they see. They can't guess what wasn't shown. Tom didn't look at her immediately. True. But when a clip is posted without context, it creates a narrative that wasn't intended. Sunny jumped in, sensing something rising between them again. But do you feel someone did that on purpose? Tom hesitated before answering. I don't know if it was intentional. But it spread way too fast to feel accidental. The audience murmured, a ripple moving through the crowd like a wave. Some nodded, others whispered sharply. Joy raised her chin slightly. Joy, are you suggesting someone targeted you? Tom finally looked at her. I'm suggesting someone benefited from making it look worse than it was. That hit hard. A couple of audience members gasped. Someone in the back said, "Wow," under their breath. Whoopi's eyebrows lifted, and Sunny leaned back slightly. Joy's tone sharpened. Well, let me be very clear. Nobody here benefits from fabricating drama about you. Tom replied calmly, but firmly. I never said it was this show. Joy leaned forward. But you're dancing around it. Whoopi put a hand up. Joy. No, really, Joy continued. If he's going to imply something, let him say it plainly. Tom took a breath that almost sounded shaky, not scared, but frustrated. I'm saying someone, somewhere, clipped that video to create outrage. I don't know who, but the way it spread felt intentional. Sunny nodded slowly. The internet does love outrage. Joy shook her head. Sometimes the internet reacts because the comment itself is questionable. The audience reacted loudly again, some clapping for Joy, others shaking their heads. Tom turned toward her fully now. Joy, you keep calling the comment questionable. But have you watched the full interview? Joy looked right at him. I watched the clip that everyone watched. Tom blinked. So, no. You didn't watch the interview. You could feel the air being sucked out of the room. The audience fell silent, waiting for Joy's reaction. Joy smirked slightly. I watched the part people were talking about. Tom, which wasn't the whole thing. Joy didn't respond immediately. Instead, she gave a long stare, like she was recalibrating what to say. Sunny broke the silence. Maybe this is the problem. We all talk about things based on what goes viral, not what was actually said. Tom nodded. Exactly. Whoopi leaned forward again. Joy, to be fair, you know how social media cuts things up. We've all had clips go viral that don't show what actually happened. Joy sighed but didn't fully concede. Sure. But I also know when someone says something that can rub people the wrong way. Tom didn't raise his voice, but the firmness in his tone increased. So I get judged by the reaction to a clip, instead of the actual thing I said? Joy shrugged. Welcome to the world we all live in. The room erupted again, half cheering at her bluntness, half groaning. Tom let out a small laugh, but it wasn't amused. Yeah, he said softly. But I didn't expect you to join that crowd. That line hit the studio like a shockwave. The audience gasped loudly, and even Sunny let out an audible, "Oh wow." Whoopi looked from Tom to Joy like she was watching a conversation she absolutely didn't want to moderate anymore. Joy's jaw tightened. I didn't join a crowd. I responded to something that sounded. Tom interrupted her now, for the first time. But you didn't watch the full context, Joy. That's the part that bothers me. The audience murmured again, some agreeing, some visibly uncomfortable. Sunny leaned toward Joy, gently. Maybe just watch the full interview before forming the final opinion? Joy snapped back lightly. I can still react based on what I saw. Tom kept his voice calm. And I can respond based on what you didn't see. The moment hung in the air, heavy and unfiltered. Whoopi rubbed her forehead with 2 fingers, the universal sign of someone who knows the conversation is seconds away from spiraling. All right, Whoopi said tightly. We are not turning this table into a boxing ring. The audience burst into nervous laughter. But the tension didn't fade. It stayed right there, thick, sharp, electric, sitting between Tom and Joy as the cameras kept rolling and the air felt like something major was about to break. The tension at the table didn't dissolve right away. Instead, it sat heavily between Tom and Joy, stretching out into a silence that felt longer than it really was. The audience didn't know whether to clap, gasp, or stay quiet. It was one of those rare moments on live TV when everyone is aware something real, unexpectedly real, is happening. Whoopi finally exhaled loudly and tried to lighten the mood. Okay, we're all grown-ups here. Let's remember that before somebody at home starts taking bets on who's gonna walk off today. The audience laughed harder than expected, mostly from relief. Tom cracked a small smile, tension easing a little from his shoulders. Joy adjusted her cards slowly, still not fully backing down but no longer pushing forward either. Sunny gently leaned in. Let's just get to the heart of it. Tom, what would you want people to take from the situation? Forget the clip, forget the drama, what's the actual message you meant? Tom nodded. That we all, actors, hosts, comedians, should stay connected to real people. That's it. Not an attack. Not shade. Just a reminder. The audience clapped softly, finally hearing something that felt calming. Even Joy didn't interrupt. Sunny nodded. That makes sense. Joy took a breath, then spoke in a tone softer than before. Well, maybe the clip made it sound harsher than it was. I can see how that happens. The audience reacted with a mix of surprise and approval. Tom looked at her, surprised but appreciative of the shift. Tom, thank you. That means a lot. Whoopi clapped her hands once. Look at that. Grown-up conversation. Nobody got tackled. Nobody flipped a table. Everyone laughed, including Joy, and the room finally felt lighter. Still tense, but not explosive anymore. The kind of live TV tension that producers love because it's real and messy and human. Sunny turned to Tom again. Is there anything you want to clear up while you're here? Since we're unedited, live, and clearly awake. Tom chuckled. Just that I respect comedians, actors, everyone in this industry. I wasn't trying to insult anyone. I was just making an observation about how fame can pull us away from normal life if we're not careful. A few people in the audience clapped again. Joy gave a small nod, not dramatic, not exaggerated, just enough to acknowledge it. Joy spoke again, a little more relaxed this time. Well, I'll say this. If you wanted people talking, mission accomplished. Tom laughed. Definitely not my intention, but yes. Whoopi chimed in. That's the internet for you, baby. Even if you whisper something, they'll turn it into a song. The audience erupted in laughter, and the tension officially broke. Sunny added, and when you come to this table, it always gets louder. As the segment wrapped up, Whoopi announced the break. We're coming right back, so don't go anywhere. Trust me, after this morning, you'll want to see what happens next. The audience cheered, some still buzzing from the heated exchange. Tom sat back, letting out a long breath, and Joy took a sip of water, still composed but visibly less defensive. Sunny leaned over to say something to Tom softly, off mic, and he nodded with a grateful smile. The second the cameras went off, the studio energy changed again. People in the audience immediately started whispering to each other. A few pulled out their phones, typing rapidly. Others shot glances at Tom and Joy, eager to see if they kept talking. Whoopi got up from her seat and walked behind the table, giving Tom a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Joy didn't storm off, nothing dramatic, but she did take a few seconds before turning to Tom. Joy, look, I wasn't trying to come at you. I just respond fast. Tom smiled politely. I know. And I wasn't trying to escalate anything. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold. Just a professional, mature acknowledgement that the moment had been intense. Sunny leaned in. Honestly, this is going viral. They all knew she was right. As people filed out, the reactions were mixed. I can't believe she asked him that. He handled that so well. Joy was doing her job. Tom looked irritated but respectful. Some even argued on the way to the exits. It was the kind of segment people would replay, analyze, and debate. Within minutes, fans were already posting. Tom Holland handled that like a king. Joy Behar pressed him and he didn't fold. Whoopi trying to keep the peace is my favorite part. Clips started circulating with captions like, Tom calls out the reaction culture. Joy versus Tom gets tense on live TV. Different sides formed instantly, some defending Tom, some siding with Joy, most just enjoying the drama. Producers approached Tom to apologize for how heated it got, but he waved it off, saying he expected tough questions. Joy didn't apologize outright, but she said she'd watch the full interview later. An indirect gesture, but a gesture nonetheless. Whoopi joked on her way out, at least nobody walked off today. Tom laughed. Not yet. Sunny posted a behind-the-scenes photo with the caption, Real conversations happen at this table. And that was true, because this wasn't scripted, wasn't planned, and wasn't polished. It was just raw human reaction live on air. And now it's your turn. Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to Fame After Hours for more real talk show stories.